Alright, today we have some news about the developers are now requesting feedback from the community. The CEO also believes there should be different missions and game modes that cater to different players. He also replied to a few players and had some interesting things to say. The invisible Minefield is back again. Yeah, surprising. There's also another bug out there for an armor, and there's just so much more to talk about. So if you enjoyed the video, consider tapping the like button below. At any point, subscribe and turn on the notifications. The developers at Arrowhead are interested in your feedback, and they have now decided to create a forum on the official Helldivers 2 Discord. If you are currently banned from the Discord, I do not believe you can submit a form. However, for those that are not currently banned, you can head over to the announcement channel on the Discord, where you should see this message from Baskinator. She wrote, "What's this? A player feedback forum. In the interest of helping us organize your feedback and suggestions, we have created a forum through Dino for users in our Discord. We don't want your thoughts and feelings to be lost in the channels, but it is difficult to keep up with the many pings and DMs in the servers during busy periods like this." Then she went on to say, edit, "We are still researching other methods of providing feedback to us, but for now, this is how we'll collect it in Discord." And as you can see, they are looking into different ways to take in feedback. I think this is a great place to start, and to be fair, it's better to start somewhere than nowhere, which is kind of where we were previously. I will say that I think this does limit the number of voices that can be heard. I know there are some who don't even have a Discord. With that said, they should definitely, be looking into different ways to collect the community's thoughts and suggestions. Maybe they could use something easily accessible for the majority of the community, like Google Forms. It's probably not the best idea, but I think it would be another useful way for them to take in some of the feedback. Now, Baskinator included some details about the forms, so if you are planning on submitting a form, then you should be aware that you can only submit feedback once every 7 days. They also would like these submissions to contain constructive, precise feedback, and nothing that's toxic. Not only that, but make sure you are not sending in stratagem or weapon ideas, as this is not what they want. And lastly, she states, "You must observe our basic rules of conduct in your feedback, or your submissions will be deleted, and a moderator will warn/action your account in the server accordingly." On that note, the chief executive of Arrowhead, Jorjani, thinks that there should be new missions that are for certain player types. The first few responses can be seen over here on the official Helldivers 2 Discord. A player posted this in the channel and said, "Glad to hear. I don't know who is in charge of balancing, but they need to stop looking at spreadsheets and start listening to the players who actually play the game." Shams saw this comment and replied with, "No arguing against it, but which people should they listen to?" Then a different player chimed in and basically said, that the community understands, and also that Arrowhead should listen to both sides. And the CEO's last response to this player was, "What I think we need to do is approach things differently. Different missions, game modes could cater to different styles, groups of players. Me, being a casual dad gamer, just want to blow shit up. Others really enjoy the high skill ceiling. Others like the games for weapons, handling, and so on." Here's my thoughts. I don't believe there is a skill issue going on, or that the game is overwhelmingly difficult to where we need to create different modes to cater to people who want it easier. What I think is the main problem is that they make some of the strangest choices when it comes down to nerfing weapons and stratagems. When the developers choose to do stuff like that, then I think that's what makes the game overall difficult, because you're nerfing the meta or the builds that were useful. Once you do that, then we have to look around and see what are the alternative choices, which is really not the best feeling. For instance, I cannot replace the incendiary breaker shotgun with the cookout because it's not as effective as the incendiary breaker. For example, the cookout has a slower rate of fire, it's not as impactful or effective really against a lot of different enemies, but it's nice with the stagger effect. But again, I don't think this is going to replace the incendiary breaker. I just don't see it. In the next post, this player mentions that Arrowhead should release their weapon usage data and that it's a great way to communicate with players, and Shams actually agrees to this. Maybe sometime in the near future, they'll release the statistics on that and we can see what's being used the most. I'm highly interested in this because I'd love to see what's the most underutilized weapon or stratagem on the list. Wait, now that I say that, I think it's gotta be the smoke stratagem, right? Both the Eagle Strike Smoke and Orbital Smoke. That is if we're talking about stratagems specifically. If we're talking about grenades, I'm going to go with Smoke and Thermite Grenade. So, what weapons, stratagems, or what in general, what do you believe is used not as often as others? Let me know what you think below in the comments. Shams also replied to another player that said, I appreciate you a lot, but please explain to us why there has to be nerfs to begin with in this game because it's supposed to be a PvE game. And the exact response from the CEO was, this is a good question and one I've asked myself. It's a complex issue. It's a balancing act between the game becoming too easy and that it has impact on a bunch of other systems. Example, easier equals faster missions, which impacts missions pacing and other things. It's not as straightforward as it seems. Okay, I get that they don't want us to complete missions faster, but them nerfing the weapons essentially in every update can make the game feel a bit stale if they were to buff some of the other weapons that are hardly used, like the Knight SMG or Plaz 101, because personally I feel like it's still underwhelming with the charge rate. If they did something like that instead of ruining some of the builds, or heck, even if they did do that, I think we all would be having a different conversation about the patch because we would have some alternatives to mess around with. Unfortunately, this is not the case here, and it's sad to see that we're all up in arms about it, but rightfully so. We all have the right to feel this way about the update. It's simple as that. You put the time in the game and would like to see your credits not go to waste. So completely understandable. We are now going to move away from this post because Shams posted this, not entirely sure who he was responding to here or if this was just a random blurt. But he posted this and said, I tried running the flamethrower, but stopped. I'm going to say he noticed the big difference between the last patch and now. I mean, this post speaks for itself. Hopefully this means that they are thinking about reverting the change and giving us all the exact same effect as before. The next post is interesting because a member of the community essentially said that we as a community appreciate it when Arrowhead says they are listening, but when it comes down to each patch, it's the total opposite because they always nerf something. Jorjani saw this and replied with, that's fair. At the end of the day, it's not one wizard behind the scenes pulling all the strings. Different people, different teams. Sometimes things lean one way, another time a different way. This patch has tons of other improvements that did. That's not being discussed so much because the nerfs are overshadowing it. But that doesn't mean we're not working in good faith or that we'll stop, but that we're human and sometimes we flounder. And to be fair here, he's totally right. The developers are trying their best, or basically Arrowhead in general, from the CMs to the support team members to just about everybody. They're all trying their best, and I'm sure. And it sucks because, you know, with the whole negativity surrounding the latest patch, it's been absolutely terrible because they have made some incredible improvements. For instance, the developers removed the orbital planetary modifier known as atmospheric interference. The new UI for the galactic war map is incredibly smooth and easy to see. The gunships are now weaker on the sides of the engines, so you no longer have to aim for the head. In fact, you can actually use your railgun to take one out. Yeah, not kidding. The railgun is surprisingly good now. So that's pretty much what he's talking about. Not only did he reply to that user, but he also posted this on the Discord as well and said, I take this any day of the week over nobody giving a shit. This is another example that they care. It's just a rough situation as of right now because they need to do something different and it's got to be on point. I've been like a broken record at this point, especially for you out there that has stopped by my channel frequently, is that I've been recommending some sort of test server. The missions, objectives, and even the glitches or bugs or anything that has to do with the storyline, they can test it out with their team. However, the weapons or stratagems primarily, I think those should be the main focus. If you feel differently about this or agree with me, then let me know in the comments below. Then at some point during the Discord, the CEO was asked about cooldowns. This member posted this and said, I think that most stratagems should have a lower cooldown. A lot of the time it's just kiting and waiting for the orbitals to be ready again. And Jorjani said this in response, the idea is that they're aces up your sleeve, 2 short cooldowns and they turn into mains, but I agree that it's painful to wait 3 minutes for a stratagem. Too painful, you tell me. The player that asked this question is not wrong at all because there are certain stratagems, like the mines, for example, that absolutely need a reduced cooldown. Because as of right now, when it comes down to using the mines, they're not that effective, and the damage overall probably needs to be improved, especially with the anti-tank mines, and the cooldown definitely needs to be reduced. Also, with the recent feedback, they just created a player poll here on the Discord, and it says, how do you feel about the Escalation of Freedom update as a whole? And yeah, you got 3 different options. It's good, it's bad, I'm neutral, not sure. I'm gonna go with the third option. I'm neutral, not sure. Let's see what the results are. 40% people have said the same thing, apparently. There's a lot of people who are just unsure about the update, and I'm definitely one of them. I don't think it's bad, I don't think it's a terrible patch, but I think with all the issues surrounding the crashes and the nerfs, I think that in itself is just a little bit sad to see, and I think that is probably why some of these players have voted for the third option. So some of you may feel differently about this, but that's my personal feelings about it. If you guys would like to submit your own feedback by voting on the poll, you absolutely can do that now. This post right here was created by the Baskinator, as you can see, and she also created a post over on Reddit and replied to a member and said this: mainly, I want to know how much this is affecting the feeling on the rest of the update too. Are people going to look back on EOF and think only about the flamethrowers? Are they going to feel meh good? In this case, I could take a screenshot of the results, slap that on the first slide of the sentiment report, and say, here's the vibe. And then go on to give all the details on what the players are saying and what we can do about it. I'm watching the 800 plus and counting feedback reports coming in through Discord, and it's providing a lot of great context for that poll too. Same with what we read here on Reddit. That's absolutely insane. 800 plus, it's got to be at least in the thousands now, maybe 2000s. It's got to be up there. So hopefully this feedback does make a big difference in some sort of way. I know that a lot of you, and including myself, are frustrated with this update and even the war bonds. Now, Baskinator also replied to another member, but this time over on the Discord, and this right here is about the feedback system right now. So if you click on the link that I just revealed at the beginning of the video, you will see that it takes you to some sort of dyno feedback, right? Well, for some, it's not loading up, and this user wanted to see some sort of alternate way, like Google Documents or a Google form, right? This is what Baskinator said in response: we're sticking with this for now in Discord. If a lot of people are spamming the form at once, it might not work, but you can always try again later. Well, there you go. If you have been experiencing some issues with that form specifically, try it again, and if it does not work, try to send a message to Baskinator over on the Discord. Maybe she can help you out a little bit more. But as of right now, this is the best solution. With that aside, we'll travel over to X. A player posted this: can the devs publish a mission statement? I believe by explaining their vision for the weapons, it will help us understand buffs, nerfs in this PvE. The CEO commented back and said, great request, we'll do one better. We'll do that, and we'll do a stream where we unpack what it means. This, of course, is some great news because it's going to give us more clarity on the patches, and the developers can go into detail and explain as to why they decided to nerf and buff certain weapons, and possibly, you know, we can give some more feedback based off of their changes, really. Also, we have some good news because the Fortified Commander has received an interesting change in the latest patch. Well, I'd say a gross change because it looks ugly in my opinion. So what exactly is going on? Well, the Fortified looks odd now because there's now this giant skull on it. This turns out that it's actually a mistake, a bug that was not intended. Because if you check out this post by this Reddit user, this player mentions regarding the logo on the B-27 Fortified Commander armor. Then what you see right here is actually the support team member's message. And this person says, hey there, Helldiver. I've checked in with the developer about this change to the armor. This change to the appearance of the armor is unintended and will be fixed soon. Not only is there an issue with the armor, but apparently the invisible mines, guess what? They're back. I know, it's not surprising, is it? It's got to be surprising at this point. No, it's probably not. Okay, guys, yeah, the developers unfortunately have, I guess, informed us that the invisible mines are back, This information can be seen over on the official Helldivers 2 Discord. B Vitamin, the support team member, said, "Hey Helldivers, we're investigating the invisible minefields bug. We thought we had it solved, but it seems to be still happening based on reports. If you've experienced this since the Escalation of Freedom patch on Tuesday, I would appreciate anyone DM me with any info you have to help track it down." Yep, the invisible minefields are indeed back again. It's like chlamydia at this point. I mean, really, a lot of these bugs are turning out to be like sexual transmitted diseases. You know, you just keep burning it off and it just keeps coming back. Obviously, that's a joke, but you know, hey, this in the end, it's somewhat similar in some ways, in some aspects. It's a bug, it comes back so much, and it's annoying at this point. I think that is what I'm getting at here, okay? Anywho, this right here, the bug is back, so if you have been experiencing it as of late, then that is why. And it sucks, but, you know, it happens. Since we're on the topic, we know that soon there's going to be a hotfix. In the past, we have seen updates pop up on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and even Thursdays. And next week, there could be a hotfix, or the week after that. They hint at soon, so it's got to be within the next week or two. Fingers crossed that they revert the flamethrower changes, because recently a Redditor posted this image and you can see that there's a huge difference the way it looked prior to the patch. It's insane. Now there's also something else that's quite strange. If you look at the reviews now, it's getting worse, or more so, it's kind of divided. If you look at it, it's kind of in between. But what you will notice on August 6th, it's at 671, and for positives, it's 463. Then we look at the second day, and it says 1,153. That's quite a lot. And that's on August 7th. But for positives, it's 370. Then we go to today's date, which it's still stacking, by the way. The reviews are currently at 734 negative, and that's on August 8th, which of course is today. And for positives, it's 192, so it's kind of lowering on the positive side. But yeah, insane, guys. Anywho, my thoughts on this overall, I think that the patch could have been better. They could have introduced some more buffs so that the nerfs were not so noticeable, I guess, right? Because, like I said earlier, if they buffed some of the other weapons, then you would have some alternatives, right? You would have some different weapons to try out, even if the breaker incendiary shotgun was completely jacked up, or if the flamethrower was. You could have your different options, you have different things you can use or utilize, but that's not the case. There's no other alternatives, at least in my opinion. But I will say that if you are using the breaker incendiary shotgun, a great combo would be the supply pack with the incendiary shotgun. Because if you do run out of ammo, just tap down on the D-pad or whichever key it is for you on PC. So those are my thoughts. This is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. Here's your top 3 comments from the previous video. The first comment is by Yermel Canales 287. They need to rebalance the balance team. The second comment is by Spartan in Virginia. I'm so glad they pre-nerfed this war bond, saved me time on grinding for it. And last but not least, we have Little Fella 1014. Quote, give it a few back shots to make the end burst, end quote. Yeah, you guys would have to watch the previous video to know exactly what this player is talking about here. But yeah, awesome comment, guys. Thank you guys for just chatting with me in the comments like always, and just giving me your feedback about the videos and the nerfs and just everything overall. Thank you guys for the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.